So we surround ourselves with solid and reliable partners to deliver the latest digital commerce solution to our clients. This is like a small overview of our partners and solution that we use in our different projects. And in overall, we are a full service digital commerce agency. So we can support your e-commerce business goals, whether you need help choosing the right email service provider or just to jumpstart your email marketing strategies. So that was it on my side. So without further ado, I pass things over to Alaa.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for joining us during this webinar. Like I mentioned previously, we're going to start doing some combinations of a presentation, slides, and also a whiteboard if we need to dive into some of the tactics. Now, today's topic is something I love: email marketing. This medium works. This channel, the more you invest in it, the better returns you get. And as we get ready for the new year, for the holiday season, we were brainstorming internally, trying to figure out what topics should we talk about in the next webinar. And I felt that, you know what, a lot of companies are focusing on their paid initiatives, Facebook, Google, all the paid channels. But at the end of the day, there is one channel that I constantly feel that is overlooked at a certain degree, and it is email marketing. Now, what I love about email marketing is the fact that, unlike what everyone says out there, email is not dead. Now, I don't want to put out too many stats. You guys can Google this. But obviously, everyone has an email address. We're still using them. Whenever you purchase online, a lot of times we expect to receive an email from the retailer that we're purchasing from the brand that we're purchasing from, as a confirmation. We are expecting to receive these transactional emails, so the open rates are higher. So again, there is interest in this channel itself, especially if you look at also not only limited to B2C channels, but also the B2B market. Overall, when people say, well, email is not what it used to be, let's be honest about something. What happened in the last past couple of years, I would say in the past decade, a lot has changed in the way we use email. Now, obviously, this device right here has changed our behaviors. We used to consume email on a desktop or laptop between specific times in the day. Now, with this device, you're literally consuming content or your emails on the toilet seat in the morning. So that's an example. All these changes in behaviors change the way we interact with email. So email is not dead. It's just the way we use it has changed. Back in the day, our inboxes were limited to a bunch of specific brands or companies we deal with. Now we're just getting bombarded nonstop. And the first thing we look for is the unsubscribe. So you have to always ask yourself, if you're not getting the results that you expect from your email marketing, there has to be a reason. I look forward to receiving emails from specific brands because I feel that their emails are not just about promotions. They're not just selling me a product. Buy my product, buy my product. They send me an email on Saturday. We have a new promotion, 10% off, 15% off, 20% off. I mean, how many times can I possibly purchase from you? Instead, an email should be looked at as a magazine, a digital asset that you guys own. And this digital asset has multiple issues being released throughout a period of time, whether it's a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, yearly, you name it. Some of these issues are automatically sent out to subscribers, such as triggered emails, like shopping cart abandonment. You're talking about, let's say, a win-back series. And sometimes you have to plan out these series that could be sent out through a newsletter, which may include some promotions, but also a newsletter should not be focused only on selling. It should be also focused around education and entertainment. So I always say, before you start bashing email marketing that it does not work or you're not getting the results from it, take the time to reevaluate your strategy. And today, what I'm about to share with you are not typical tactics that you can find across the web. So in terms of examples, I'm not showing you a lot of examples because honestly, there are so many blog posts out there that can share with you some examples as how emails should look like. I'm more focused on strategy and growth within this channel. So today, these tactics that I'm about to share with you are proven. The stuff works. Not only have I tried them myself, being on the client side for more than 18 years for some major retailers, but these are some of the strategies that we also help our clients here at Le Site implement and also improve throughout the marketing journey. So let's get started. Tactic number one, we're talking about email deliverability. So one thing I've noticed is marketers, they plan out their email. It's designed. We made sure we have the best promotion. We made sure that we have the best design. We made sure that everything looks perfect. We QA'd it to make sure that all the links that we have inside this email, all of them work. Great. We schedule this. We schedule it so that it leaves early morning, for example. So now we're sending it to a server where this email inbox is sitting from our recipient. And our recipient is right here, who's probably using a smartphone to receive their email. Now, when we talk about deliverability, and I promise this is the most boring tactic because it's very technical. Unfortunately, a lot of marketers and a lot of business people in the e-commerce world do not focus on this aspect of deliverability. What do I mean by this? So a couple of things. There is delivery and there is deliverability. The act of you sending the email address and it being received by the server, so the domain, the hosting, the server, the email server itself, that's a delivery. But knowing whether or not it reached the inbox, that's the deliverability that I'm talking about. So a lot of times, your email service provider will tell you, how is the delivery going? Yes, it's been sent. And usually you get a bounce, soft bounce, hard bounce, all the typical things that you see in your dashboard. But what I care about is the deliverability. Did you reach the inbox of the recipient? And if you did, where did it end up? Is it going in the spam? Is it going somewhere else? Is it bouncing? Is it just lost in space? Where is it going? So a lot of times this occurs for many reasons. From what I've seen in my experience, deliverability can potentially impact the success of your email marketing initiatives. Now, it depends on many factors. Number one, your list size. So if you are actively acquiring email subscribers and you're growing your email list, I'm not talking about 10, 15, 100, 200 people. We're talking in the thousands a month. And you're actively growing this email list, deliverability can potentially become a challenge for you. Because now you're acquiring new subscribers from all sorts of different channels. It could be from a contest, from a partnership with a brand. It could be all these kind of things where you have to take into consideration, because you're driving all these new subscribers and your list is growing, your deliverability reputation could be impacted. Another thing that could impact is the frequency. So sometimes people send, let's say people always ask, how many emails should I send? We'll talk about this after. But the idea is if you're used to sending one email a week, and then eventually you start getting results and you start sending now 2 emails a week, it could go to 3, 4, whatever frequency you have, the frequency can potentially impact also your deliverability. Because let's face it, not everyone is going to be happy about receiving your emails. So your complaints can change, all these things can impact. So really consider the frequency as well. And if you have sudden changes in frequency, that could potentially impact your deliverability. Another thing that I would like to focus on is the domain structure. So yes, you will have to have a subdomain for your email server. I don't want to go too technical, but the domain structure, whether it is your SPF record, as soon as you go into those, there are certain settings in the way you set up your domain for your email program that can potentially impact your deliverability. And sometimes you need to have these in place so that servers out there, the email providers out there, the Googles, the Microsoft, the main domain names out there, they know exactly who you are and they can authenticate who you are, is going to be critical for you. Because obviously, as the list grows, they want to make sure that no one is taking advantage of their email recipients. Another thing that can affect your deliverability is your acquisition, the source of acquisition. If you're focused primarily on acquiring email addresses from contests, or you're making it where people are downloading or submitting their email address because of a coupon, and then you start bombarding them constantly with newsletters, that could impact. That's why I always say, as a recommended tip, is whenever you acquire emails from whatever source, treat each source differently. So that's why the expectations are important when you acquire them. So the content matters as well. So if you start sending out emails that contain errors, where they do not render properly on smartphone devices or some, let's say in Gmail or Outlook, if the content is heavy, if the content is deceiving, it is spammy and all these things, well, guess what? Potentially these complaints will increase and that will impact your deliverability. So that's the first step I need you to focus on. This tactic is critical, especially if you're going into the holiday season. Now, what can you do about it? Well, there used to be a tool called Return Path. And there are many tools out there. Return Path has been acquired by Validity. Validity offers a deliverability check kind of solution that allows you to see whether or not you have been impacted by deliverability or not. So as a first step, I would tell you, reach out to these solution providers out there, and there are many. Find out whether or not you have been impacted, so at least you're aware of the situation. And now, don't do it only once a year, do it multiple times throughout the year to ensure that you're in good standings. So think about getting a deliverability whitelist is them saying that your company.com is authorized or has been verified or complies with all of the email rules out there, and you're certified to send out emails. So you see that a lot with a lot of the companies, like imagine back in the day, the flash deal sites, the deal sites that usually send out daily emails. Well, these guys had to resort to tools like Validity or Return Path to ensure that their emails are received by the recipient. So if you don't, like I said, there's a lot of technical aspects, and this is the most boring part of this session. Speak to your email service provider and ask them about deliverability. A lot of times, the provider will guide you through the whole process, but just make sure you're in good standings. So that's the first step that I recommend, the first tactic that I recommend when it comes to improving your sales from email. And obviously, questions about this, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Tactic number 2, you got a list, the famous list segmentation. And obviously your list has potentially hundreds, thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers. So I see this often, and it surprises me. Every time I go in, yes, we are segmenting our list, but when we send out our emails, we're just sending it out in English and French, for example, just based on language. Or we're gonna segment our list based on country, USA, Canada. Or, I don't see advanced segmentation. So a lot of times, if you really want to improve, not just your overall average numbers, so it's great to have an open rate of 20%. But if I was to tell you, you know what, let's try to increase this by 5%, where would you start? It's an average. Instead, you should look at your list in terms of segments. And I'm not talking about just figuring out who they are, gender. Demographics are great, by the way, but that's only one part of the equation. So creating segments overall will impact your email engagement, guaranteed, because you're no longer just sending out an offer or a message to everyone else on your list. You're being specific to whom it is that you're targeting. So that's one. Number 2, when you start segmenting your list, it allows you to test things. So you can test frequency. How many times should you email this segment? How many times should you send them an email in terms of timing? When should you send those emails? Do customers open emails early in the morning compared to non-customers? Let's say, do they open more in the evening? Do they even open emails or not? So when you're segmenting your list by looking at the type of customers you have and all that stuff, then you're able to test. But if you're just sending it out, blasting the list, and you're just basing it on language or just a country demographic information, then you may not learn a lot from the engagement that you're getting, and you're not going to get excited when it comes to time to test your campaigns, your subject, your offer, your content. When your list is segmented, that's when you see new opportunities available in there. So sometimes when people ask me, how many times should I send emails? Well, it depends. There are many reasons. If it was in my hands, I would send emails every day. But a person will never receive more than one email, for example, from me a week. But I'm sending every day an email to 7 different, for example, segments. So there's ways of looking at it, and segmentation is critical for you. So what can you segment by? I love looking at subscribe date. So if somebody signs up in, let's say, the first 3 months, that could be one segment. People who sign up in the first month, the first week, you may put them in a separate segment because they're getting the welcome series. So subscribe date is important to me. Why? Subscribe date has some sort of relationship with the customer lifetime value. So if your product is technically purchased once every 3 years, well, guess what? The first month when that customer joins your list, they may be engaged. 2-3 months after they purchase the product, their engagement might go down. A year later, engagement goes down. A year later, engagement might probably go down. You need to segment so you see the behavior throughout the period of time of, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years or months. So subscribe date is important. You'll start noticing trends. You may notice that people that have been on your list over 2 years have an open rate of 5%. Great. Isolate those, deal with them separately from the ones that are engaged, for example, in the last 3 months, or that have been signed up to your list in the last 3 months. That's an example. I like segmenting a list based on engagement. So people that have been engaged over a period of 1 month, 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months. And when I look at engagement, I look at it in a couple of ways. I look at engagement in terms of them opening an email, them clicking an email, or them even purchasing a product or not. So engagement is not just about opening an email. Because let's face it, if you just bought something from us and potentially you get another email a week later, what are the chances that you're going to buy from us again? If you identify your segment based on purchases and non-purchasers and you target them differently, then you'll have ways of you for promoting content that may be of interest. So for example, I buy this pillow from you and you know that I recently made a purchase. Well, talk to me about your customer satisfaction guarantee the week later. Put focus on the after purchase value proposition that you offer your customers, that you have a 30-day money-back guarantee, or examples of how they could maintain their product, you name it. You're not focusing on the promotional side because you're sending this email to people that have recently purchased from you. But so it's very important to look at engagement at many different levels, not just opens, because sometimes, by the way, an email may be deemed as opened because Gmail has a notification on the iPhone and it sends a trigger to your email provider to say they opened the email, but they haven't yet. It's just been received. So you want to really look at the different levels of engagement to segment the list. I like looking at customers versus non-customers. It's very important because especially first-time customers, if they haven't bought yet from us, then my messaging will be different. My branding will, a lot of my messaging will be focused on around branding, around value proposition, around product differentiation. What's so unique about our brand or our product that you need to buy, and how is that going to help you or benefit you in your day-to-day life? So I like looking at customers and non-customers. Again, you can have these segments sitting there and then just test out different triggers for them or different campaigns. But it's very important for you to identify who's a customer and who's a non-customer. I'll even take it further. Who's a first-time customer? People that have bought from you once, treat them differently. A lot of times we lose money on the first order, but we end up making it on the second, third, or fourth order. So these are certain strategies that you can consider when it comes to segmenting. And the last thing is demographics. We all do this. Gender, location, profession, what industry you're in if you have a B2B business. So that stuff is available. But don't stop segmenting your list because you're like, oh, you know what, I have the boring stuff. You can still do a lot of stuff with demographics. You're a fashion retailer, you sell both men's and women's apparel. Well, I don't want to get an email that talks more about women's apparel if I am looking for jeans. But maybe in the bottom, you could say that, by the way, we also offer women's apparel. Maybe my wife would be interested in purchasing from you, or your spouse, you name it. So again, you want to make sure you use demographics to your advantage when promoting these products. And that's where I see a lot of times we're not segmenting, and we say we're segmenting, but we're still blasting the list. And the last thing I have is the purchase behavior. So it's one thing to know that whether or not you purchased and how many times you purchased from us. But I like to look at also, what did you purchase? What category of products did you purchase from us? And maybe sometimes I'll take it a step further, what SKU? Or I might look at, for example, your cart. What is in your cart that you abandoned? Shopping cart abandonment emails, for example. So again, purchase behavior has many levels, and segmenting this list can potentially help you convert them into actual customers. So that's tactic number 2, list segmentation. Tactic number 3, frequency and timing. So this question we get a lot when it comes to sending out emails. And for some reason or another, people are shy when it comes to sending out emails. I don't want to bother my subscribers. Well, if you feel that way, this means there's no value in your emails or there's no value in your offer. I don't mind receiving an email from my favorite retailers about some new products that they just received. I don't mind receiving an email from my retailers about some exclusive items that are limited edition. You know what? I always like to wear something unique or different. So I'll jump on these opportunities. I might open up an email that teaches me how to take care of my shirt that I recently bought. So there is no sale here. They're really providing me valuable content that can help me use the product that I just purchased from them the right way, for example. So if you have doubts as to whether or not you're going to bother your subscribers sending out many emails, then ask yourself, if I feel that way, then what can I do about the content I'm emailing them about? And that's the first thing I would start with. So how many times should you email them? Again, if it was up to me, I will email them every day. I will email my list every day, but I would segment it. Now, depending on the category of products you sell, if you are selling mattresses, don't email me every month. You sell a mattress. I'm going to buy a mattress every 1 to, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. But if you want to email me about sleeping habits, how can I sleep better? How can I improve my wellness? How can I, tips on how to take care of my mattress? Tips on maybe, I don't know, sleeping with someone who snores, for example. That these are ideas or content that has value to me as a customer who just recently bought a mattress from you. It could be, you could email me once a year about a referral program. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, we hope you enjoyed your mattress so far. Why don't you refer a friend, family, and you will benefit. Get a $50, $100 if they purchase a mattress from us. That's okay if you want to email me about that stuff. For the next 3 years, 4 years, I really don't care. At least you're top of mind. I'm remembering you. But if you're going to keep emailing me about the new mattress sale, then I might be pissed. I might unsubscribe. But if you start adding additional products to your collection, so you're selling mattresses, then you start selling pillows, you start selling sheets, you start selling everything else, then there are ways for you to create additional content. What's important is to test. Do not assume. Again, when you're confident about the content, the offer, the promotion, or whatever it is that you're including in the email, and you truly feel that it is valuable for your subscribers and they will act on it, whether it's to consume it or purchase, the call to action, then try it out, test it. Because sometimes you hear people saying 1 email a week is more than enough. For me, the minimum is 1 email a week. That's the minimum. Remember, not everyone is going to open your email. A lot of times, people might receive your email and they might see the subject line and they're like, okay, it's okay. I don't want to, they already know what's inside the email. They don't even bother. They may not purchase right away. But you know what? Next time that you send an email, they might actually open it and engage with the content. So sometimes it's okay to email them, but meet their expectations, but test it. Because I could tell you 1 email a week is more than enough to start with, but then you might tell me, Alaa, but I sent 2 emails and it's working great. Amazing. It's great that you're getting results. Just make sure you watch the unsubscribes and we'll talk about that. It's great that you're getting a lot of open rates. It's great that you're getting a great deliverability rate. It's great that people are engaging with the content. There's always pros with regards to increasing the frequency, but don't lose focus on the back-end side of things. How many people are unsubscribing? How many people are not actually opening your emails? And what are you doing about that segment? So the only way that me tell you how many times you should email is really test it out, but at a minimum, 1 email a week, but spend some time creating this content. There's nothing wrong with sending email reminders. We all get distracted. We're all procrastinators to a certain degree. Humans are procrastinators. So if you email me about a sale on Thursday, don't feel bad about emailing people on Sunday at, let's say, noon or at 3 o'clock, reminding them that the sale is about to end at midnight and putting a countdown. This stuff works, especially if you know the sale is strong. But guess what? That reminder, I may not include people that have purchased from us in the last, let's say, 4 days. Because if they purchased, if I send the email on Thursday and they purchased one day between Thursday to Sunday, and I'm emailing them about the sale, then you know what, that might irritate them. So make sure your reminder is excluding those purchasers. That's why it's very important, again, to segment by behavior. You can segment by email campaign as well. So you can make it dynamic in the end. You're excluding purchasers, for example. But reminders are great. Again, people will not be annoyed if there's value to your offer. If you're just offering 10% off, I don't think it's needed for you to email them a reminder. But if you're doing a Black Friday sale, email them twice a day even, I'll take it. Because everyone is expecting emails from those specific big promotions. Everyone likes to save, but at the same time, do not annoy them. Allow subscribers to choose frequency or pause emails. And this is the part that I see a lot of brands and retailers ignore. And B2B, B2C, I've seen it everywhere. Why is it that when people click on unsubscribe, they immediately get unsubscribed? Why are you not offering them choices? Let's say, for example, I bought from you, but you know what? I want to hear from you only once a month. Offer me this option to choose to receive emails or hear from you once a month, once per week, once every 3 months, once per quarter, once every 6 months, once a year, who knows? At least you're not removing this user subscriber from your list. And there are ways you can play around afterwards with retargeting, let's say on social media and all that stuff. So offer them an option to choose the frequency of your email promotions. Even take it a step further, the type of emails. I may not want to receive any promotions and sales. Just offer me that option to say, don't email me about promotions. But you know what? I would like to receive information about your latest blog post or educational content. Or I like to receive announcements about the store, my preferred store in your chain is close by to my house. If you have a promotion or an event specific to that store, then let me know about it. Customize your preference center so that you can offer this option. Keep track of shopping behaviors inside Google Analytics. So whether you decide to send out 2 emails, 3 emails, 1 email, you name it, keep track of the behavior. After you send out that email, there is engagement inside your email software based on what people are doing. But there's also a part of what happens after they go to your website. Look at bounce rates. Look at time spent on the website. Are people adding to cart? Are people browsing category pages? Are they looking at your contact information? Are they looking at your About Us page, for example? What are they doing? Keep track of this behavior. Don't just keep track of revenue, which is the main conversion we're aiming for. But look at micro conversions, add to carts, searches on your website. This is all valuable insights. When you bring people back to your website, guess what? Your pixels get refreshed, your Google Ads script gets refreshed, Facebook, you name it. So again, there's a lot of good things that can happen bringing people back to the website, but just make sure you watch what they're doing. I didn't use the board, so great. I don't have to erase anything. I hope this is good so far. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, how is it so far? Is this a little bit what you expected out of this session? Again, I'm not trying to highlight the basics. I really want to focus on more advanced strategies. The basics, you guys can Google them. You'll find Neil Patel talking about it and everyone else, all the 7 tips and 3 ideas or whatever it might be. Tactic number 4, subject line and pre-header. So obviously this is my phone right now. And let's say I receive an email from your brand. Usually I get a notification because my phone is locked that there's a Gmail. Gmail is telling me there's an email here. And usually I get the sender, subject line, and there is a small little blurb right here that I see. That's the pre-header. Sorry, that's the, what did I call it? The pre-header. Sometimes they call it preview line, preview text. Every email provider calls it differently. It's that piece of text that supports the subject line, okay? So you have the subject line and the preview right here. Usually, the subject line is limited to a specific amount of characters. Again, test it. Sometimes test short ones, long ones. You see what works best. But the preview line usually supports the subject line. And I'll give you a trick when it comes to creating those. So that's one way where the preview header will show up. So when my phone is locked, I will see it. Sometimes, and then notice how I'm always using my phone. I'm not talking about laptops because a lot of times we open our emails on mobile devices, except maybe during work hours. But let's say I'm inside That's a pretty big iPhone 16 maybe at this point. I'm inside my inbox. So inside the inbox, notice that sometimes, let's say I'm talking about Gmail, you start seeing the emails of that are inside your inbox. And here you will get also the subject line, the sender, and a small tidbit of the pre-header text. So there's two places that it might show up. And when sometimes you open the email, the pre-header is no longer visible because now you're inside the email. So how can you leverage this to your advantage? So obviously, use it as a way to converse with your clients. Grab their attention with the subject line and support it with the preview line. For example, we have a sale, a 10% off sale for Thanksgiving. Great, you caught my attention. Then you know what? Tell me more. Ends October 24th at midnight. Use coupon code SALE10 when checking out. You see how I did it? So I am telling you there's a promotion. What is the promotion? All that stuff. In the preview line, I'm supporting that. I'm telling you when it's ending, how to go about it, use a coupon code, and what is it that you're going to get, for example. The idea here is if I don't open your email and I get a notification on my screen, I will see the offer, and if I'm interested, I'll open it. If I am just going in my inbox and I'm going in at 100 kilometers an hour because we're just scrolling through all the emails, it might catch my attention. I may not open it, but through the small preview stuff here inside the inbox, it might grab my attention. So use it to your advantage. Do not forget the preview line, because the last thing you want is the preview, or let's say the email software, picking up the first line in your email. And a lot of times it's view this email in a browser or click here to unsubscribe. Sometimes it doesn't match the message. So you really want to take advantage of this field that's available in your smartphones, in your email providers. The other thing that I highly recommend to test is emojis, but please don't overdo it. So let's say if the time is running out, you're reminding people, put an emoji of, let's say, a clock. If you're running, for example, a flash sale, put, let's say, a thunder. Yeah, this is a thunder. Thunder, just it's a flash sale. Play around with the emojis, but at the same time, you don't want to overdo them, and use them when you feel that other retailers are going to also be sending a lot of emails. Sometimes you want to stand out inside the inbox, but test it out. But if you use it a lot, trust me, people will start ignoring it. So sometimes I would test it in the beginning of a subject line, in the middle, or in the end, test it to see what works. There is no, people will tell you in the beginning it plays a bigger role. Test it. Every list is different. Every customer list is, shopping behavior is different. Another thing that I like putting in the subject lines and the preview line is a sense of urgency and scarcity. Anything that last call, limited sale, sale ends this weekend, 24 hours, 3-day sale, 4-day sale, you name it. Limited edition in terms of scarcity, limited quantities, only 10 left in stock. Anything pertaining to scarcity inside the subject line and the preview line can help increase engagement. Now, here is my trick. I like using the, I don't know why I said design, it should be desire. So I use ADA when creating some emails. So attention, interest, desire, not design, and take action. So grab someone's attention with the subject line. You gotta get the subject line right, because a lot of times, just like in headlines and in newspapers or that, the headline gets the most attention. If people read your headline, then they might read the rest. If they don't read your headline, forget about it, it's not gonna happen. So the subject line, you gotta nail it. And that's when you grab someone's attention. Create interest in the offer, in the attention grabbing subject line, probably with the preview line. So add some additional interest in the offer. This sale is only once a year. Okay, great. Okay, I see you got my attention with the sale at 30% off. This sale is only once a year. Okay, I'm interested now. It's only on, let's say, jeans, or it's only on shoes or Nike, whatever it might be. Now build some desire, where in the content, this microphone is going to fall one day. In the content that you have, build desire in your subscribers to make them want to take action. And that's the last thing. take action. So I might use beautiful imagery, lifestyle shots of people wearing the clothes that are on sale, or it could be the new arrivals, new collection. It could be a new product that you received that you want to showcase, maybe a animated GIF there. So there's so many ways to build desire. Your copy, your headlines, the pricing, the discount offer, you name it, and offer a clear call to action. And that's the approach I use. But it's very important for you to focus on attention and interest ahead of everything else, because if you don't have their attention, forget it. They're not going to open the email. That's why the subject line plays a huge role in this process. And the last thing I have for you is to test. I mentioned testing a lot because a lot of times we assume too much and we think that people are going to work. They usually engage better with this type of subject line versus another, or with this type of offer versus another, but we're not testing enough. And don't test 1 month, test over a period of time, because there's seasonality sometimes. Test different days. Don't expect an email to perform the same if you're sending it this week versus last week. Things can change. It's not the same settings. You know, there's so many things outside of your control, the weather, other promotions that are going on, Amazon, you name it. So really, when you start testing, be careful. Don't come up with immediate hypotheses as to why something is not working. So test it within the right environment. Number 5, email content. Tactics related to email content. So obviously, when you're designing this beautiful email, we spend a lot of time, again, it's like a digital magazine. Well, it's important for us to think mobile first. Again, what's the first thing you do in the morning? I'll admit to it. I pick up my phone, I start looking at all the notifications, but usually I turn off the airplane mode, turn off the airplane mode so all the notifications come in. I don't like sleeping with the Wi-Fi on. And then as soon as they come in, I start seeing all the notifications. So understand that most of the time, people are going to open your email on a mobile device first. So test your emails on a mobile first approach, with a mobile first approach. So you see how the offer, the message, the subject line, the images load on a mobile device before you check it out on a desktop or a laptop. So that's the first thing I would tell you. When it comes to the design, so this is usually the typical layout of anatomy of an email. You have right on top the pre-header space, where sometimes you might write free shipping, just one line of text that summarizes sometimes the rest of the email, and you link it to the landing page. So take advantage. Sometimes people don't have the time to go through the whole email. So that's the part that I call pre-header inside the email. We're not talking about the preview line within the subject line, a pre-header. Then you have the header right here. Usually you would see a logo, there's some branding. Invest in this header, because sometimes just putting here, for example, free shipping message, or you have a special sale or something in the corner, can somewhat grab someone's attention. But sometimes I see people just putting in a logo. Again, test it. So this is the header I'm talking about. This part is critical. Take advantage of this. You know, people are lazy. They are being distracted. You grabbed my attention when it came from the subject line and the pre-header. I opened your email, grabbed my attention here, and then maybe the rest of the email with let's say you have a banner, you have some text and a call to action, you know? But maybe you can grab my attention right on top here, and that could potentially make a difference. Text matters. Many times I've seen, and still see it to this day, some brands don't even bother putting in text inside their emails. They focus on putting in, they put in a massive image. They put in a massive image inside the whole email, and then they wonder why is it that they're not getting the results. Well, guess what? You got to start putting some text. You got to give an idea to all the spam bots out there, spam filters, what's inside this email. And that's why it's very important for you to incorporate some text, whether it's before, after, written on top of the image, you name it. So you have headlines, paragraph, personalization, etc. It's all about the offer. So at the end of the day, the content will do well if the offer is great. Personalize it, whether it's a shopping cart abandonment, browse and abandon, or win back offer, whatever it is, personalize it to the user. That's going to make the biggest difference. And structure your email into 3 sections. So this is what I usually recommend. You have your email, Again, test it. You have the header part, and then what you have is section 1, section 2, and section 3. The main section right on top can be the main offer. So that's the main offer. The section under it could be anything related to education, education or entertainment. And that could be something related to your blog, new arrivals, or whatever it might be. But don't always just focus on sales, 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 so that if somebody has recently bought or they're not interested in buying, there's another reason why it's worthy of them to open your email, because they're getting something else out of it. Education and entertainment work really well, especially when it's really well targeted to your segment. And the last thing is about brand. Talk about your brand here. Talk about the latest initiatives. We're so proud of the brands, yet we don't communicate enough about them. Tell me a little bit about your returns policy. Tell me why your customers are happy. Put in some testimonials. Showcase some latest, I don't know, Instagram Live that you did here. Talk about your Instagram activity. Talk about your Facebook. Talk about your Pinterest boards. Whatever it is, focus here on the brand. Because again, you might be sending this email to new customers who have never bought from you. Educate them about your payment offers, your shipping options, you name it. There's so much to talk about your brand. Why not use this section for it? So usually that's how obviously there's a footer, there's a header, play with all these sections. The idea there is don't limit yourself to one offer. Sometimes an offer by itself is okay. You're running a site-wide sale for Cyber Monday. You don't want to distract them with other things. So it makes sense, but test it. This one's going to be very fast. So landing pages. So the biggest mistake I see when it comes to increasing email sales is we're sending people to the homepage. We're sending them to the product page. Sometimes I highly recommend that you develop a new landing page for those promotions. So a dedicated landing page that people will click on as soon as they open your email and they see the offer, they come to this page. Now, do you do this for every campaign? No, but the major ones in retail do it. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Cyber Monday, Black Friday. You're talking about the seasons, summer sale, winter sale, you name it, all these ones. You don't want to send them all over the website. You don't want to dilute your tracking, your funnel. Send them to one page so that afterwards from this page, you spread them across the website, whether they use the navigation or they click on the content on that page. But the idea is do not just send them everywhere else, because sometimes, unfortunately, not all pages are optimized for mobile. Not all pages are made for someone who is on your email list. Control the message, control the experience by sending them to a dedicated landing page, especially when it is the main offer. So one other thing that we forget is mobile optimized landing page. So make sure it loads fast, it's well structured, it fits inside the phone screen. So all these things have to be considered when it comes to a landing page. The goal here is to reduce the amount of clicks to get to your offers. And that's what I like about having a landing page. It's dedicated, it's specific. If somebody opens your email, you're not letting them go all over the place. Just click here, you're gonna get to the expected promotion. We're not gonna send you to a product page. If it's not a product page, then don't send them to a product page because you may have something else running there. Send them to a page that reduces the amount of clicks so that they get to the offer itself. And the most important part is track user behavior. A lot of times when you build out a landing page, it could be the first time, make sure that this page has been added to Hotjar. This is the tool we love. Track what people do on those pages. You'll be surprised because if you learn from what happens on this page, it's the same template, for example. Well, next time you use the same template for another landing page, you'll be able to improve it. And you're just learning upon every single campaign. And the template starts becoming better and better and more efficient. But make sure you're tracking the user behavior. And finally, unsubscribes. And that's the last part. So unsubscribes are very important. But let's face it, if you send out emails, you will have people unsubscribing. Honestly, if people unsubscribe, I'm happy because I did not meet their expectations and I don't want to piss them off anymore. So it's my job to make sure the unsubs are not happening. Then you start with the content. Well, not even that. We'll go through the list. But the idea there is if people are unsubscribing from your list at an alarming rate, then pay attention to that. Find out why. But sometimes, let's face it, people will just unsubscribe. And that's okay. Not everyone is your customer. Not everyone wants to hear from you. And not everyone loves your brand like you do. So sometimes They may not want to receive emails from you, but that's okay. But they may want to see ads or Instagram posts from you. So again, don't take it personal. It's okay. And again, as long as you're within the averages in the industry, and every industry is different, speak to your email provider. They'll give you some benchmarks. You're okay. It's normal. It's part of the game. What could you do about it? Well, first, if you're getting a lot of unsubs, set expectations. So if you have a pop-up, let's say, and you're offering 15% off, and you're asking for an email address, then mention in here exactly what will happen after they sign up. If you accept to receive this email, all it is that you're gonna also be added to our email list, then set the expectations. So instead of going, let's say, immediately with the offer, join our email list and say 15%. Now you're setting the expectations. I'm not just getting a 15% off coupon. You're telling me I need to join your email list. And play around with these offers so that you see which one converts better. But setting expectations is critical. Upgrade your preference center. Your preference center is not just this. It's not name, last name, and yes, I want to receive email from you. Again, go back to the demographics. You might have gender, you might have frequency, you might have topics they want to email you about. Upgrade your preference center and let people choose how many times they want to hear from you and how many times, about what do they want to hear from you, about what are they willing to hear from you. And also give them an option to pause their emails if they want to for 6 months, for example. Play around with these things. Again, allow frequency options. It's critical. Don't just unsubscribe people. Send them to their preference center, telling them, by the way, we're sad to see you want to unsubscribe. Did you know you can pause or receive only 1 email a month or hear from us only once every 6 months? Test out to see which one works. The last thing is to request feedback. And don't prep them for the feedback. Ask them, when they unsubscribe, have an open-ended question to say, why are you unsubscribing? We'd love to improve our programs. We want to just make sure we're always learning about the feedback from our customers, and we don't want to ruin the experience. Tell us why would you like to unsubscribe? Now, you might know why sometimes, so you may offer these as options, but always leave a box to ask them for additional insights. You'll be surprised. Some people were like, I'm okay, I'm happy. I just don't I don't check my inbox. That's okay. But the problem is you have many brands that focus on the percentage of unsubs and they put all unsubscribers in that bucket. That's wrong. Some subscribers will unsubscribe because they're bouncing, soft bounce, hard bounce. It could be they just want to unsubscribe. They bought what they needed. It's not because your email program is bad or your designs are bad or your offers are bad. Some people choose not to receive emails, and that's okay. But request this feedback so that you can explain yourself or understand the reasoning behind these unsubscribes. The last tip I have for you is retargeting. So you have this massive email list. You're using it mainly to communicate with your subscribers by email. Why not synchronize this email list also with Facebook, social media? So you can create an audience on social media so that you can retarget these users. People who haven't opened your emails for a while, upload the list on Facebook to make sure maybe you can run an ad there targeting them if they have a matching email address. Now, when you want to do this, make sure your privacy policy is up to date, that you sometimes share your emails. So speak to your lawyers for this. But again, all these things are expected when it comes to advertising, but you want to make sure you're protected. Every country has different laws, so all these things have to be considered. But a great way to take advantage of your email list is to synchronize it with Facebook. Segment by engagement, active users, unengaged users. Upload the unengaged users on Facebook, for example, and retarget them with ads. Maybe they're not getting your emails because deliverability issues, or it's going to the spam box. At least you're promoting the offer to them through other mediums. And continue it's not the conversion, it's the conversation outside of email. You're not limiting yourself just to email. So I always tell people, when you run a promotion, yes, start with a landing page. As soon as you have the landing page, start promoting it on paid channels, start communicating through your owned media like email, start promoting it on social media in your accounts, start promoting it to your affiliates, start promoting it across all of the other digital channels, even your influencers, so that they bring everyone back to where? The landing page. So again, don't limit yourself. When you have a promotion, make sure the website is up to date, the hero image is up to date, you have a sale going on, make sure it's associated with a landing page that shows the instructions as to what's on sale, for example, and make sure it's distributed across your digital channels. And that's it. That was, yeah, within time, less than an hour. I want to make
Thank
sure
you,
everything's
Alaa.
okay.
It was amazing. It was a great
Okay.
presentation. I loved how you help us understand kind of like the logic behind some popular email metrics and like understanding in a different way, and just sharing tactics that can be applied right away, which is what we're looking for, like immediate actions that we can test. Thank you very much. So, and we already have like some questions that are coming in.
Sure.
So thank you guys for submitting your questions. So let's start with the first question, Alaa. So someone is asking like, which frequency do you recommend to a clothing store that is going to launch a pre-sale campaign to a winter collection?
Hold on. I didn't. Okay, so frequency
So
for?
which frequency do you recommend to a clothing store that is going to launch a pre-sale campaign to a winter collection?
It really depends on, okay. Again, I go back to the minimum is once a week, I recommend, because you want to remain top of mind. Now, how many times should you email people about that specific sale? If you have historical data, then I would rely on that first. I would take the historical data from the last winter sale to see if sending out, I don't know if, okay. I would look at, first of all, historical data. I would look at a couple of things in Google Analytics too. How many people, so let's say you run the sale for the month of October, and look at the purchase behavior throughout the month. When are purchases being made? Is it beginning of the month or towards the end of the month? And really figure out, well, how many times should you email people based on that behavior that you've seen, let's say, from the previous year. Now, keep in mind that with your type of sale, there's a lot of seasonalities in place. So for example, you run the sale in first week of October. Well, guess what? The first week of October is not as cold as the last week of October. So people might be more inclined towards purchasing your winter products at the end of the month because the weather is also changing. So do take that into consideration. I would start launching, let's say I like giving a teaser. So guys, get ready. We're launching the sale. Get ready, let's say, for next week or whatever it is. Now, you don't want to do this too many times because at the end of the day, you don't want people to hold off their purchases. So do it strategically. That's one. So I'll give them a teaser as to there is a big winter sale coming. I would treat, let's say, VIP customers differently. I might send them the email 2 days ahead of time. So again, segment your list based on VIPs and send those people the email be like 2 days before the sale. So people can obviously transact immediately. So that's one. And then from there, I will test it. I would see what's happening. I would at least launch once a week, but then I would monitor the performance of the campaign. If obviously you're not getting the results you're expecting, then I would email them again later on and see maybe you can tweak a little bit the promotion. Now, don't make this mistake of always sending the same graphics, the same products, or whatever it is in these emails, because that becomes repetitive. So what I highly recommend you do is very simple. Every time you launch an email about the sale, have different variations of the content. You're announcing a pre-sale about this campaign, that's one design. When the sale launches, that's another design. When you're promoting it, let's say a week later, start promoting specific collections in this campaign. It could be specific products. It could be the ones that you have a lot of stock in. So all of these things could be considered when sending out these campaigns. So just take that into consideration. But it's all about testing.
Okay, perfect. So another question that we had is it's quite specific. So someone asked that often their emails are sent and get into spam junk folders, and their clients they can't see them because, for example, when they are on mobile, they can't access the spam and junk folder, whereas when they're on laptop, they can click on the folder, and it's a problem. They say that's really related to Outlook, MSN, and Hotmail. So if you have any recommendation to avoid this situation.
So Outlook, MSN, Hotmail, that's where the deliverability issue comes in. You may have deliverability issues. Hotmail and MSN, like Microsoft in general, is one of the strictest email providers. Do take a look at that. So verify the deliverability if you're penalized. I would also recommend you look at Litmus. genevieve@alaa.com, just to make sure your emails are well structured. The other thing too is whenever you are going in the spam folder, start stripping away your emails, your email content. So if you're used to sending out big images, a lot of promotions, you know what, just say, send a simple thank you message with a paragraph with just text, no images, to see if that's going to have an impact. Sometimes I tell people, message people directly from, let's say, a different email address or a different from name, different times. Sometimes I would tell you, isolate the Microsoft email addresses and send them to Google only to see if the domain name is also going to impact or not, the different domains that you have in your email list. There's a process that you have to follow one by one. There is no specific reason. It's like a checklist, and fix this, try, does it work? But don't make this mistake of making all of these changes and then, oh, it worked, but you don't know what had an impact. So make one change at a time. It's annoying, but that's the only way to go about it.
So I think maybe we have time just for one last question. I know we're at 3 o'clock. So the last question that we can have is, are you aware of like any stats versus Canadian versus US consumer? And if like US consumers are more likely to engage with email marketing because that person is noticing like a trend in their business?
There are differences, but it's by categories. Honestly, the best approach is to, first of all, reach out to your email providers. But here's the thing. Your email providers might tell you that open rates are 25%. So you take a look at that and you're like, oh, I'm only 15%. What's happening? You need to know exactly what type of customers your email provider has. How big are these customers? What industries they're in? And you'll notice that certain email providers have a specialty within a specific category of brands. So let's say some of them might be fashion retailers and they have a big chunk of their customers in the fashion industry, or they might have enterprise level customers. So that information might skew the benchmarks that this provider has. So my recommendation is to, first of all, and a lot of these providers do offer this information on their website. So let's say you reach out to the Klaviyo, you reach out to Omnisend, ListTrack, Bronto, you name it, all these .digital. You look at all these guys and you gather insights from all of them to see where you stand. Now, I don't have them memorized. I usually have to do some research and I do them by year. With COVID right now, a lot has changed. So again, take that into consideration. Audiences behave differently, especially when you think about the US. There's a lot of consumption there. You're dealing with different weathers. You're dealing with a lot of competition. People are a lot more aggressive. Take that into consideration. Now, my trick is if you want to make sure you're in good standing, or you want to make sure that you are staying ahead of the competition, sign up to all your competitors' emails and see what's happening. Monitor their frequency, monitor when time they send their emails, monitor when do they what type of promotions they send by email, and just leave them in that inbox so you have some data to look back to if needed as well.
Okay. So I think we'll have to conclude. So if you have questions that we didn't have time to answer and that you're thinking about questions that we want to answer after this webinar, you can contact us via our website. It's as simple as using the chat, or just send us an email. We'll be happy to answer your questions. And don't forget, before I let you go, please answer a 3-question survey at the end of this webinar. And is there something you want to add, Alaa?
Honestly, our team is ready to help you out, especially if you're running out of time. If you need some help looking at your overall email strategy, you want to speak to our experts on the team, myself included. We'll sit down, look at your plan, look at the systems that you have in place. In the end, we can help you improve the overall performance of this channel and potentially find missed opportunities. So if you need some experts to look at it from a strategic perspective and to help highlight certain missed opportunities, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
So with that, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.